In the quiet city of Peterborough, where life moved with a predictable calm, a darkness was slowly taking shape, quiet, calculated, and hungry. It wasn't the kind of monster people whispered about in childhood stories. This one was very real. Her name was Joanna Dennehy, a woman whose crimes would shake the nation, not just for their brutality, but for something far more chilling. She didn't kill out of rage, jealousy, or desperation. She killed because she enjoyed it. Tonight, we step into a case so disturbing that even seasoned investigators struggle to comprehend it, a story of manipulation, violence, and a woman who hunted for the thrill of the kill. This is the terrifying descent of Joanna Dennehy, a murderer who killed for fun. Peterborough had always been the kind of place where people felt safe leaving their doors unlocked, where neighbors greeted each other by name, and where the biggest worries were traffic delays or a rainy weekend. It was a city defined by routine and familiarity, until one woman began rewriting its story. In early 2013, an unease settled over the community. It started quietly, whispers of someone going missing, rumors of a body found in a ditch, the kind of talk people brushed aside as coincidence. But beneath that calm surface, something sinister was unfolding. A predator had begun to move through the city, not lurking in the shadows, but walking openly, confidently, without fear. Residents didn't know it yet, but their peaceful streets had become the hunting ground of Joanna Dennehy, a woman who felt an adrenaline rush in the very act of taking a life. As she drifted from place to place, Peterborough itself seemed to darken, its sense of safety slipping away, replaced by a tension that would soon grip the entire region. Because with Dennehy, violence wasn't an accident. It was intentional. It was deliberate. And worse, she was just getting started. Before she became one of Britain's most disturbing killers, Joanna Dennehy was, in many ways, unremarkable. Born in 1982, she grew up in a middle-class family, attended good schools, and had opportunities that should have led to an ordinary life. But even as a child, there were signs, subtle hints that something was deeply off inside her. Teachers described her as intelligent but unpredictable. Friends recalled a girl who could be charming one moment and explosively aggressive the next. By her mid-teens, Dennehy had already started running away from home, gravitating toward chaos, drinking heavily, experimenting with drugs, and seeking out relationships that fed her darker impulses. As she entered adulthood, the instability only deepened. She became involved with a series of men who, despite her volatility, stayed drawn to her. Some spoke of her magnetic personality, others admitted they feared her. Those closest to her began noticing patterns, her fixation on violence, her fascination with the idea of control, and her growing tendency to threaten those who challenged her. The people in her life saw the warning signs, but no one imagined what she was truly capable of. Dennehy didn't simply exhibit anger, she seemed to crave the very idea of harm. She talked about violence casually, even playfully, as if the line between thought and action meant nothing to her. Behind her sharp smile and unpredictable moods, something was brewing. A desire that would soon become undeniable. A hunger that would no longer stay hidden. And when that darkness finally surfaced, it would do so with catastrophic force. Joanna Dennehy's descent into murder didn't arrive suddenly. It crept in quietly, like a thought she'd entertained for far too long. By the time she acted, it wasn't hesitation guiding her, it was desire. Her first victim was Łukasz Slabazuski, a quiet young man who had trusted her. Dennehy had a talent for disarming people, for making them feel seen, understood, even special. She used that charm effortlessly, inviting him to a property in Peterborough where she promised companionship, and something more. Slabazuski walked through the door expecting connection. What awaited him was calculated betrayal. Once alone with him, Dennehy acted with chilling calm. There was no argument, no emotional explosion, no struggle for power. She stabbed him through the heart with a single, decisive strike. For most, such an act would trigger shock or regret. But Dennehy didn't feel remorse. She felt exhilaration. Later, she would describe it almost casually, like checking an item off a list. That thrill, that sudden rush of control, was unlike anything she had ever experienced. And instead of frightening her, it awakened something inside her. She didn't kill out of necessity. She killed because it made her feel alive. Slabazuski's murder wasn't hidden for long. Dennehy bragged about it to the few people she trusted, speaking of the killing with a grin that unsettled those who heard her. It was the first time she tasted the high she'd been craving. And once she felt it, she no longer wanted to stop. To Dennehy, this wasn't a crime. It was entertainment. The beginning of something she chillingly referred to as fun. And as the days unfolded, that fun would spiral into a deadly spree, one that would leave Peterborough in fear and the nation stunned at the brutality of a woman who enjoyed the act of killing. After that first kill, something inside Joanna Dennehy snapped fully into place. The hesitation was gone. The uncertainty disappeared. What remained was a woman chasing a high she could only achieve through bloodshed. And Peterborough would become the stage for her terrifying spree. Her second victim, Kevin Lee, wasn't a stranger. He was her landlord, a man who trusted her far more than he should have. Dennehy used that trust to her advantage, luring him in with promises she knew he would follow. When he arrived, she struck with the same icy precision as before, swift, ruthless, without an ounce of hesitation. Later, she would mock his death, speaking about him with a cruelty that stunned investigators. But 2 victims weren't enough. The adrenaline was fading. She wanted more. So Dennehy left Peterborough and headed toward Hereford, dragging along 2 male accomplices, men who were terrified of her but too entangled to escape. During the drive, she spoke openly about wanting to kill again, describing it like a craving, something her body demanded. When she spotted her next victims, she didn't know their names. She didn't care. That was the point. She wanted random targets, men chosen simply because they happened to cross her path. In Hereford, she attacked a man walking his dog, stabbing him repeatedly before leaving him for dead. Minutes later, she targeted another man, a stranger on the street, inflicting similar wounds. Miraculously, against all odds, both survived. But their testimonies later revealed something even more disturbing. Throughout the attacks, Dennehy laughed. As if the violence itself was a performance, and she was enjoying every second. These attacks weren't fueled by anger or revenge. They weren't planned with motive or meaning. Dennehy was chasing a feeling, one she openly described as wanting to feel alive. And the only way she could achieve that was through chaos, pain, and the rush of seeing life slip away. Her spree left 3 men dead, 2 more brutally wounded, and an entire region paralyzed with fear. Because what made Joanna Dennehy truly dangerous wasn't the number of victims, it was the simple, chilling truth. She killed for the thrill of it. And as she moved from city to city, that thrill only grew. Joanna Dennehy's reign of terror wasn't carried out alone. She had men by her side, 2 individuals drawn into her orbit, captivated by her forceful personality and, perhaps, afraid of the consequences if they refused. Their roles were terrifyingly clear: follow her instructions, no questions asked, and play their part in her deadly game. These men weren't hardened criminals. They were ordinary, flawed people who became unwilling participants in something extraordinary and horrific. Dennehy manipulated them with a mix of charm, intimidation, and outright control. One moment she could appear playful, almost flirtatious, drawing them in with her energy. The next, she would assert dominance, coldly directing them to assist in her crimes, her eyes flashing with menace that left no room for objection. The men were witnesses to her escalating violence, standing by as she inflicted unimaginable pain, yet trapped by a mix of fear, fascination, and twisted loyalty. They later admitted in court that they felt powerless to stop her, as if a darker force controlled not just her actions but theirs as well. Through them, Dennehy amplified her reach, spreading terror across towns she passed through. But it wasn't just about the victims. Her power over her accomplices revealed a chilling layer of her personality. She didn't merely want to kill. She wanted to dominate, to prove that she could bend others to her will, coercing them into participating in a cruelty that many could never imagine. It was a relationship defined by fear, control, and a haunting obedience, a dynamic as disturbing as the murders themselves. As the body count rose, Joanna Dennehy became the focus of one of the most intense manhunts in modern British criminal history. Police forces from multiple counties joined the search, combing towns, questioning friends and family, and tracing her every known movement. But Dennehy wasn't hiding in fear, she was mocking them. She left subtle clues, taunted officers through letters and conversations, and flaunted her freedom with an audacity that stunned investigators. To her, the law was a game, and she was always one step ahead. While the public panicked and the media clamored for answers, Dennehy seemed to revel in the chaos, enjoying the knowledge that she had everyone chasing shadows while she moved freely. Her ability to manipulate those around her, combined with her unpredictable choices of victims and locations, made her incredibly difficult to track. Every encounter, every escape, fed her thrill. Police officers described the hunt as exhausting, frustrating, and unlike anything they had seen. She wasn't just a killer, she was a predator operating with confidence, cunning, and a complete disregard for the law. The manhunt became a nationwide spectacle, but the terrifying truth lingered: Dennehy wasn't afraid of capture. She was enjoying the hunt as much as the killings themselves. The spree could not last forever. Eventually, Joanna Dennehy's luck ran out, and the authorities closed in. But even in the moments of capture, her demeanor shocked everyone around her. She did not plead, cry, or resist. She smirked, a small, unsettling smile that hinted at amusement rather than fear or remorse. During questioning, her words sent chills through detectives. She spoke casually about the murders, describing them as though they were mere games, recounting details with a dispassionate, almost clinical precision. When asked why she had killed, she replied simply, "Because I wanted to. Because it felt good." There was no attempt at justification, no remorse, no apology, just the stark, terrifying truth of a woman who murdered for pleasure. Even those experienced in violent crime were unnerved by her lack of emotion. Her confessions revealed not just the crimes themselves, but a glimpse into her mind, one that viewed human life as expendable, and killing as a source of thrill. It was a confession not of regret, but of pride. The capture of Joanna Dennehy ended the immediate danger, but the words she spoke and the calm with which she delivered them ensured that the horror would linger in the minds of investigators, and the nation. Long after the manhunt concluded, Joanna Dennehy's trial was unlike anything the British legal system had seen in years. From the start, the courtroom was gripped by tension, as the public and press waited to hear how a woman could commit such calculated, ruthless murders. The evidence was overwhelming, yet it was her attitude that stunned everyone: calm, composed, and eerily unremorseful. Psychologists testified about her personality, a rare blend of psychopathy, thrill-seeking, and complete lack of empathy. She displayed behaviors typical of extreme manipulation and control, showing no emotional response to the suffering she caused. Experts warned that her actions were not impulsive but meticulously planned, reflecting a mind that derived pleasure from dominance and violence. In the end, the court handed down a sentence that shocked the nation: a whole-life tariff, meaning she would never be released. For a female offender, such a sentence was exceptionally rare, reserved only for the most heinous crimes. The verdict confirmed what investigators had feared all along: Joanna Dennehy was not only dangerous, but irredeemable, a killer whose cruelty would never be matched by remorse. Her trial became a grim reminder that evil sometimes wears a familiar face, and that terror can come from the most unexpected sources. Joanna Dennehy's crimes left a scar not just on her victims' families, but on the city of Peterborough itself. For years, residents would walk the streets with a sense of unease, haunted by the memory of a killer who shattered the idea that women were incapable of such calculated violence. Her case challenged long-held perceptions of female offenders. Suddenly, the public was forced to confront the reality that evil does not conform to gender expectations, and that charm and beauty can mask a terrifying capacity for cruelty. Psychologists, law enforcement, and journalists debated what drove her, while communities struggled to process the sheer randomness and brutality of her spree. Even today, Dennehy's legacy lingers, a chilling reminder that terror can come from anywhere, that human life can be destroyed without motive, and that in Peterborough, the shadow of her actions still whispers through the quiet streets she once roamed. Joanna Dennehy's story is a chilling portrait of a mind that killed for pleasure, not necessity. Her spree was not driven by revenge, money, or survival. It was driven by a hunger for excitement, for control, for the thrill of watching life end at her hands. In the end, Dennehy forces us to confront a terrifying truth, that evil can be calculated, deliberate, and disturbingly ordinary in appearance. Her actions left families shattered, communities in fear, and a nation grappling with the uncomfortable reality that some killers simply enjoy the act of killing. As the courtroom doors closed and the headlines faded, the horror remained, not just in Peterborough, but in the haunting realization that Joanna Dennehy's kind of darkness exists, unseen, waiting for its chance to surface. It is a reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are the ones who smile while they take lives, for fun.